When the New Orleans Pelicans won the 2020 NBA lottery and then traded Anthony Davis for Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, Josh Hart, and all of those picks, I thought that the New Orleans Pelicans had hit the jackpot. Of course, losing an all-NBA talent and superstar in Anthony Davis sucked. But when you get a return like the Pelicans did on top of the number one pick in the NBA draft, it's really hard to not be excited about the future. Rebuilding when you have all of these assets is supposed to put you on rebuilding easy street. All you have to do is have a decent run of health and manage your assets in a reasonable fashion, and you should be good. As we all know, Zion's health and availability have been a roller coaster. Meanwhile, David Griffin has been quietly burning through assets at an alarming rate. What's funny is that I actually tweeted this exact thing back in 2022, and back in 2022, I caught a lot of heat for it. Do you guys know how happy I am to see Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Josh Hart doing their thing in these NBA playoffs? I mean, Hart has been so good that Thibs literally doesn't even want to take this guy off of the floor. Like, that could have been us. These guys did not want to leave New Orleans. So everything isn't all bad in New Orleans, and I'm kind of speaking in hyperbole. Zion's health has improved, and he started to look like the dominant force that he was destined to be coming out of high school. But like I said, David Griffin is still David Griffin. And now, Zion Williamson is forcing him to make the hardest decision of his Pelicans career. But first, today's content is brought to you guys by Game Time. So guys, one thing that I've always wanted to do is go to an NBA playoffs game. Imagine going to a game like the Thunder versus the Mavericks and being in the middle of all of that electricity. Going to a playoff game is something that almost seemed unimaginable to me in the past just because of all of the hassle. But thanks to Game Time, the process of going to one is easier than ever because Game Time wants to bring you as close to the action with as little hassle as possible. Finding tickets on Game Time is a breeze, and you'll be surprised at how much they want you to make the most of your hard-earned money. And the thing is, I'm not even joking. Their last-minute deals, all-in prices, and lowest price guarantees are absolutely clutch. What I love about Game Time is that their lowest price guarantee actually guarantees that you're going to get the lowest price possible. Or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Game Time isn't even exclusive to sports either. They have all kinds of events on the app. Guys, download the app, create an account, and use code COOP for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply, of course. Thank you, Game Time, for coming through and sponsoring today's content. When the Pelicans started looking really good this season and it had become trendy to call them contenders, I had a lot of people asking me, well, Coop, why aren't you making more Pelicans content? And part of the reason was in the back of my head, I knew that what was taking place right before my eyes was too good to be true. I've said this in a lot of my Pelicans content, but every time that things are going well for this ball club, it's felt like disaster hasn't been far away. In fact, when things are going great, it's like disaster set that greatness up, and its plan all along was just to take it away from Pelicans fans like some sick sort of YouTube prank. As much as I will always love this team, I hate what our fan base has been subjected to as basketball fans. I think there's currently a decent number of Pelicans fans that don't care if the team ever wins a championship. They really just want a couple of good runs while their team is competitive. I mean, that's all I'm asking for at this point in time. I don't think that a lot of you guys understand exactly how bad that my New Orleans Pelicans have been. My Pelicans have been so down bad that if they had won the in-season tournament, it would have been one of the greatest things that I would have seen this team do in my lifetime. The Pelicans were reportedly relishing the opportunity to hang that in-season tournament banner, and instead of hanging a banner, they would actually play so bad that a dialogue would be started about this team's direction. During this time, no Pelican would face more scrutiny than Zion Williamson, and rightfully so. Zion was supposed to be this generational megastar, and yet early in the season, he was looking like a shell of his former self at only 23 years old, which of course would be one of the worst case scenarios for this Pelicans team. I say that because there are a lot of question marks about this team, but one thing has remained constant, and it's that if this team wants to be great, it all starts with Zion Williamson. Zion not being in peak form to start the season and looking like a shell of his former self would force the Pelicans to have to play more through Brandon Ingram, which was something that made sense at the time. While Brandon Ingram would love and relish this opportunity to be a #1 option earlier in the season, Zion wasn't exactly feeling his new role.
We had a team meeting, and it was brought up some things that I could do better, especially like with buying into the program. And right now it's tough right now, but like I said, right now I'm taking a little back seat right now, and I'm trusting the process. I'm trying my best to buy in right now.
It really didn't seem like Zion was too enthused about taking a back seat to Brandon Ingram, right? Well, fortunately for him, it wouldn't last. By the end of the season, Zion would be in the best shape of his NBA career, and with him being in this shape, he would also be playing his best all-around basketball. We had seen point Zion, we had seen Zion dominate the paint, but what we hadn't seen was Zion dominating on both sides of the basketball at the NBA level like he was at the end of this season. An energized Zion actually had the Pelicans looking like they could beat the Lakers in the NBA play-in tournament. In the play-in tournament against the Lakers, Zion would play 36 minutes, have 40 points, 11 rebounds, and 8 assists, and then disaster would strike in the form of injury in the closing moments of the game. When Zion went down with 3:13 remaining, CJ would be his sub. What's the significance of this, you ask? Both CJ and BI were glued to the bench leading up to Zion's injury, but it would be CJ, who isn't the dynamic playmaker that Ingram is, that would get the nod to go in the game at the end. When Willie Green was asked why he decided to bench Ingram against the Lakers, he said that, "I just liked the group that was on the floor at the time. BI is still getting back into rhythm, so I didn't want to force the issue. I liked the group that was going." While this answer deflected there being something deeper at play, it was evident that this franchise could be headed towards a major change, and that would only grow more evident as Brandon Ingram would lay down a disaster class in the playoffs, averaging just 14.3 points on 34.5% from the field, as the Pelicans went on to get swept by the Oklahoma City Thunder. After the series, it would come out that Willie Green and Brandon Ingram had, quote, a minor exchange in the locker room during the team's Game 2L, with Ingram telling Green that he wanted the ball more and he wanted the coach to help facilitate that. I'm not mad at Brandon Ingram for being hungry and wanting the coaching staff to help facilitate getting him the ball. What I am mad at is how after 5 years with Zion Williamson, his game hasn't evolved to complement Zion. I guess you could say that Pelicans VP David Griffin would be pretty disappointed in this also, as the Pelicans are not expected to offer Brandon Ingram a contract extension this offseason, which I have to say, this one hurts bad.
I love the city of New Orleans. This is a place where I got my first All-Star where they let me be myself. I got good relationships around here, but you never know. I just take a few weeks off and think about what's best for me, what's best for my family, and take it from there. But no matter what, I got I got a lot of love for the city of New Orleans, for the fans. They did nothing but treat me right, and there's some unfinished business here. So you never know.
Brandon Ingram sounds like a man that wants to stay in New Orleans and figure it out, but knows that his time there might be coming to an end. I really don't want to trade a guy like Brandon Ingram who hasn't played his best basketball yet, but when the alternatives are letting him go for nothing or paying him $208 million over 4 years, when the team already has a potential sharpshooting star in Trey Murphy waiting to take advantage of a permanent starting role, I'm just going to say that I understand. As of right now, the Pelicans have to be exploring all avenues to maximize Zion, and letting Trey Murphy be who he really can be would be a step in that direction. Trey Murphy is 6'9". He's a freak athlete, a sniper from deep, and can get hot at the blink of an eye, and is only 23. Zion and Brandon Ingram or not, they have to figure out a way to pay this guy and get him more minutes in the process. He averaged 14.8 points this season, only starting 23 games. If you get this guy in a full-time role, he's going to be pushing 20 easy. So one of my favorite solutions to getting Trey Murphy more minutes has been trading CJ. as he's repeatedly shown you that he's somebody that you can't trust in big games and a liability on the defensive end. In the playoffs, saying that the Thunder attacked this man is an understatement, but apparently a CJ trade is not likely to happen. To quote a report, while he's not untouchable, he is viewed as the grown-up in the locker room for a young Pelican squad, providing stability on the court and a good locker room presence for the team. I'll give it to CJ. This man can put up numbers in the regular season. Down the stretch for the Pelicans, he was huge. But the playoffs, that's an entirely different story. Honestly, he'd probably make a killer sixth man. Now, in my last Pelicans video, I talked about how the Pelicans could use some more help at the center position. What I wanted for them to do was go out and get a Gafford level guy who could protect the rim. What I didn't want for them to do was go out and lose their starting center that they traded assets to get for nothing. According to a report, the Pelicans are set to let Jonas Valanciunas walk in free agency. Even if Jonas isn't the perfect fit for this roster, by letting him walk, you are playing a dangerous game. Again, I understand that he's not the perfect modern center, but he can control the boards, be a presence down low, and extend out to the three-point line. He has faults, but in the right system with the right coach, I still think that he provides a lot of value. I mean, it's not like this guy is going to be expensive. I already know that a team like the Lakers are licking their chops that a guy like this could become available. I'm just really hoping that the Pelicans have a backup plan here, which as of late hasn't really seemed to be the case. I don't know, guys. Let me know what you think of everything down in the comments below. Clicking the video on the screen right now is a great way to support my channel. I'm Get Like Coop, bringing you guys the scoop until our next upload.